I'm going to introduce our next speaker. We were supposed to have Mr. Bharat Rai, but due to a family emergency, he was not able to make it. But he has kindly sent Ms. Hema Jyoti in his place to continue with the same presentation that he was going to make for the conference. So the topic Hema is going to be talking about is the future state of cybersecurity in remote working, a point of view. A little bit about Hema. So Hema is currently working as a senior cybersecurity consultant with Wipro, and she manages next-gen cybersecurity platforms in the Middle East region. She joined Wipro 5 years ago and has worked in different roles such as consulting, research, and advisory and pre-sales. Hema is an MBA from one of the top 10 schools, B schools of India, and holds a bachelor's degree in computer science. On security credentials, she is a CISA, CISM, and CRISE. So without holding up anymore, I'm going to hand the stage over to Hema. Hema, over to you.
Thank you, Aditya. Very good afternoon, everyone.
We don't see a slide.
You're not seeing my slides?
No, I can't see your slides. It's just gone off.
Please let me know if you're seeing my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen now, Hema. All yours.
Okay. Is it up now?
Yes, it's up now. It's perfect.
Okay.
All yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Aditya, for quick intro, and very good afternoon to everyone. Over the past 4 months, I have been working with several organizations, either to perform a cyber security gap appraisal, primarily with the onset of remote working, and also to support them in proactively preparing for these emerging threats due to this COVID situation, as 80 to 90% of their staff are remotely operating. So I was actually working on different cybersecurity best practices, taking insights from industry standards like ISO 27001 or NIST 846 for tele and remote working, and COVID-5 guidelines and other OEM best practices. So I thought this will be the best topic to share our learnings on this forum. So chose the topic of future of cybersecurity in a new normal of remote working. So I would like to start my conversation with some data stats, which are very specific, of course, to the region. I'm currently based out of Dubai. So as per Telecom Regulatory Authority of UAE, there are 34,000 cyber attacks that happened in last 1 month on UAE government entities. So this could be either phishing or malware threats or some targeted attacks as well. And globally, according to Google, on an average, every day, around 240 million spam emails, especially related to COVID-19, are being launched at Gmail users. So, and one more interesting fact is over last month, in just last 1 month, there is 260% increase in malicious URL hits globally. This is according to one of the Trend Micro report. So, which means it's a serious cybersecurity threat, which implies there is huge increase in advanced persistent threats, and with the increase in the malicious URL hits. So, why this sudden and steep surge in cyber attacks and threats we are seeing now? It's majorly due to the way businesses are forced to operate with due to this pandemic. So over last 3 to 4 months, what are the changes that we are seeing is majority of business sensitive meetings are now moved on to the online collaboration platforms like WebEx or MS Teams or Zoom and so on. Just in the month of May, Around 120,000 malware and adware packages were observed on such remote conferencing platforms. This is according to one report, a recent report by Kaspersky Labs. And Zoom, which has been very household name these days. So over 0.5 million Zoom accounts are being sold on dark web or other hacker forums. So a huge attack surface is created with moving the business sensitive meetings onto online platforms. And with the increased VPN usage to enable remote working, but it's happening. But many of these many employees are very new to remote working, and there is huge probability of human error to happen or for the decrease in productivity and so on. But in most of the organizations, if we talk about updating their security policy, most of the organizations should have done it last year, or it should be around a year. And talking about the remote working policy, most of them either don't have or those who have it, it is not updated. So the remote working security policy, even if they have it, it is not updated to the current scale of remote working resources. So that's one of the new trend we are observing. And and due to this remote working, most of the organizations were not able to provide their own devices to their employees, and they have allowed BYOD over there. So the endpoints are extended multifold, allowing personal devices for work by the organization. Most of them, they don't have a standard BYOD policy, and the only countermeasure these organizations would be resorting to would be using the SOC, and that's how SOC is getting oversubscribed. It is overstretched due to these extended endpoints. So another key observation is the endpoint security measures like antivirus or anti-malware. All these are oversubscribed, and most of the times they are not updated with this unexpected change. And other important trend I would like to discuss here is the impact on supply chain disruptions. So as per 2019 Deloitte Global Poll, 70% of the organizations which had participated in the survey, they said they have moderate to high level of dependency on the third parties, and also on the fourth parties. So with this change, with this change of remote working being 80 to 90% extended in the organizations, there will be significant change to business resilience through either through supply chain disruptions or to enterprise risk and compliance with the legal or regulatory non-compliance. And one more trend that we are seeing in this new reality is rapid cloud adoption. So though it was a leading trend over past 2 to 3 years, it took to speed with to enable business continuity in the new normal. Here I would like to quote a regional survey conducted by IDC, which they call it as IDC COVID-19 survey. So 30% of the CIOs and other decision makers, they said they want to reallocate the budget to spend more on the cloud services, even on the public cloud services. So this has become a catalyst to switch the trend from cloud aversion to cloud adoption. So, and I believe this trend is global. So these are several trends that I have captured on how the businesses are operating. And here I captured what are the common or major information security issues that are impacting confidentiality, integrity, and availability for any typical organization for in terms of information security. So, first of the major headline risks for remote working is nothing but information leakage or the data leakage, because now most of the sensitive data is now being available of the organization is now being available on the unsecure networks. So, as per one survey by OpenVPN survey, 73% of the executives who had participated said uh, they they said there is a huge risk or a huge potential risk of information leakage when remote workers are operating, when their employees are operating remotely. So this is majorly because of most of the off the shelf remote working tools. They have to, sometimes they may have to go or sidestep the internal IT controls, which normally prevent data loss because of few reasons, like either to improve the ease of use or accessibility. So one latest real-time example I could think of is one of the customers I was working with. They have a best-in-class uh, remote working remote working tools, but they don't want to sorry, but they don't want to go for multi-factor authentication while using VPN for their core employees. This is because they find it's intriguing and it's taking longer time, and they believe that there is no ease of use with that. So, such are the such are the challenges that organizations had to face in terms of information leakage, and also due to the change in network or changes in VPN configurations, using personal devices then for doing the office work, and also opening up different ports by the organization's network team, there is increased attack surface, and this could enable, or this could lead to exposure of critical data as well. So that's one of the major challenges about information leakage. And the next one is while when connecting to the network other than the office network, it makes organizations vulnerable to the remote access threats. So primarily when they are using vulnerable networks or vulnerable devices, so the remote access threats could increase, like DDoS attacks happening on the VPN TLS servers. So when such kind of attacks happen, it could take down the encryption services so that VPN usage could be disrupted. Also, there is a possibility of human errors to happen uh, while using these while moving on to this new normal, because new processes are put in place in a very short notice by IT teams in order to support their internal systems for long term remote access. It's not for a month or for 15 days. It has been 4 months now, 3 months, 4 months now. And the third challenge I would like to touch upon is the supply chain disruption. So globally, supply chains are disrupted severely due to this pandemic. But the businesses across the value chain in the in the supply chain, they are forced to make decisions and to streamline their business and to sustain their operations into this new reality. So most of the times, organizations may not have visibility of their tier two suppliers or fourth parties to deal directly with, in case if their tier one suppliers or the third parties are impacted. So there is also a possibility for non-availability of systems internally, because a large number of VPN connections are being used at the IT, and the IT infrastructure might not be able to support them. So the one last challenge, of course, there are a lot of cybersecurity issues while working with remote working, but I tried to capture a few important ones. And the last one in my bucket is regulation oversight. So remote working so most of the times remote working may not avoid the applicability of the requirements posed by the regulations. So this there is a possibility for gaps to occur in this remote working scenario, because this is the new BAU, business as usual situation now. For example, there is a possibility of ISO 27001 non-compliance with in case if there is improper implementation of access or authorization for the third party applications which are used from BCP context. So this could be a non-compliance from ISO 27001 perspective. Also, one important point I'd like to highlight here is companies are now forced to or tend to monitor the devices and the activities of their employees for security or business reasons. But privacy concerns will take back foot, primarily from any privacy related regulations like GDPR and so on. So that's about a quick snapshot on what are the cybersecurity challenges with remote working. Now, moving on to what is that? So, what are the regulations or standards or frameworks or mandated have mandated or advising on remote working? So, specific to ISO 27001, I picked up one standard, one regulation, and one framework here in the interest of time, and quickly highlighted what is that each of these regulation or a standard or a framework is talking about remote working. What should be the security requirements or controls that should be in place while working remotely. So to start with ISO 27001, remote access should be strictly secured when using VPN. That is, most of the VPN, indeed, it talks about having strictly securing with encryption. So while using the VPN, and also to avoid any split VPN. So that is, when in case if the remote user, when the users are connected remotely, they should not be connected to any other networks other than the company network. So that's the reason for asking to avoid split VPN. And secure authentication should be enabled using methods like multi-factor authentication or session restrictions, putting session restrictions, and allowing only secure connections between multiple fixed locations over the internet, like that is by using controls like site-to-site tunneling and so on. And hosts that are used to connect to any into the organization's network, they should be fully updated, and they should be fully updated with the updated antivirus or anti-malware softwares. So that's about updating connection hosts. And there has to be a backup for remote access for remote access provision in case of avoiding any single point of failures or by ensuring high availability and so on. Risk evaluation is again an important aspect, which is coming from ISO 22301, the business continuity standard from ISO. So it is asking for, it quotes about having performing the risk evaluation for aspects that are impacted by pandemic, which includes the supply chain as well. And also to identify alternate ways of continuously interacting and managing communication with the customers. So these are several requirements or best practices suggested by ISO 27001 standard and 22301. Now moving on to NIST SP 846. So this is about teleworking and remote working guidelines. It's not as a proper standard, but it is guidelines provided by NIST. A very comprehensive document. So it is talking about the importance of having role-based access control while using VPN, and providing granular level access control and managing these access control points and so on. So also while using remote access, what should be the usage restrictions, how to manage the proper management of configuration requirements. And especially for internal system connections, what should be the interface characteristics between internal system connections, or what should be their security requirements, and so on. Uh, Talking about identification and authentication, so it's primarily focusing or quoting on usage of multi-factor authentication in several cases, like for privileged accounts, non-privileged accounts, for local access, for remote access, how to leverage multi-factor authentication. We give great detail about it. And NIST also talks in detail about having risk assessment. So, due to the current BAU scenario, the need for change in risk assessment frequency or the scope of risk assessment, and so on. The final one is about boundary protection. So, which means having controlled communication, or how to enable controlled communication between internal and external boundaries of the organization, like steps like implementing subnetworks and so on, side to side tunneling and subnetworks and so on, things like that. And moving on to one of the regulations here, GDPR. So it talks about having controlled access to internal data by leveraging role-based access control, and based on least privilege, or even on the remote access. Encrypting all devices and data. Uh, I believe as per Article 32 of GDPR, only approved users should access the data set, even remotely. So this is applicable to not only the data, but also to the devices that are accessing the corporate data. The other one is pseudonymization, which is primarily or a component of data masking, especially for personal data, like uh, inability to identify data, creating a situation where it is not possible to identify data without additional questions being asked. So, especially in the remote working scenario, this is one thing that organizations need to look at. And they usually, it recommends to organizations to go for cyber insurance policy during these, and it has become of prime importance in these unpredictable times. And remote working policy, having a remote working policy with the proper data security principles, and what should be the employee responsibilities, and so on. So these are the quick pointers that uh, several standards and regulations or the frameworks are talking about. So as we understand that there are many information security challenges, cybersecurity challenges relating to implementing this remote working policies. So these are their implementation of remote work, even on the quiet times, itself has got several infosec challenges. But when deployed very quickly and at the scale to support this dramatic increase in the remote employees, like 80 to 90% of the workforce to be working remotely, many of these challenges are even stretched to the limit, and it gave a scope for many new challenges to crop up. So, based on the insights that are given by various standards, frameworks, and our experience working globally, so we have put in 4 pillars for securing the future of remote working from the cyber attacks, or to ensure cyber resilience. So these 4 standards primarily taken from, like, on the pillars of COVID-5. If I put them on the pillars of COVID-5, uh, these are: manage your critical assets, like manage your network and connectivity security, manage your business resilience, and manage your endpoints. So how why is it important to manage critical assets? Identifying the assets that are critical to the organization or for conducting its services, and maximizing their availability, and also the reliability on these assets is very important, especially in these times, because physical office is not used right now, as employees are working from home. So whatever, but yet whatever the network or the infrastructure, such kind of critical assets, they should yet be maintained and they have to be operational. So things like routine physical services, whatever needs to be done on the critical assets, or patch management, sometimes the preventive maintenance, all these are irrespective of employees operating from office or from work. All this maintenance should be performed on the devices that are critical for day-to-day businesses. So that's the importance of managing or securing the critical assets. And the second pillar would be managing network and connectivity security. So we understand that network security is essential and is very important even during the normal business operations. Now, as many employees are working remotely, so we should also change or shift the way of thinking about how to manage these incoming connections from coming from the employee homes or other networks. These kind of incoming connections which are interacting with the established organization's network security. So that's how that's the paradigm shift that we need to bring in while working in the remote working scenario with respect to network and connectivity security. So the third pillar is managing the business resilience. So right now, business resilience for the enterprises, it's going through the tough test, like the kind of ultimate test due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Because it is important to utilize the business continuity planning or disaster recovery policies and so on. Of course, organizations do have them, but it is important right now to monitor them very closely and also to update these policies by continuously identifying any policy deficiencies, observing some gaps, and continuously updating those policies for the future working scenarios. And the last pillar is managing the endpoints. How to right now, as endpoints are extended, as most of the organizations are allowing their employees sometimes to use their personal devices, it's also important to ensure that the security for the scale of these kind of endpoints. So what kind of security controls to be implemented to manage the scale of endpoints? So here I captured what could be the security recommendations on these pillars of the 4 pillars that we discussed on previous slide. So what should be the recommendations or control measures that should be in place for the cybersecurity when working remotely? What should be the strategies of the organizations to secure themselves and to ensure business resilience or cyber resilience is in place? So here I have captured few recommendations, primarily based on our experience and based on the best practices from industry standards, frameworks, and the OEM recommendations, and so on. So for managing the critical assets, one important thing is managing the physical access. So to ensure that the physical protections for these critical assets are in place, primarily to avoid any unauthorized access to physical assets. So how can we understand this capabilities by referencing through the documents or requirements in terms of service definitions or service level agreements or configuration management and so on. The second recommendation for managing the critical assets would be so only few employees might need remote access to these critical assets. So that's why there should be updated access control lists, and these services should be continuously monitored. It is equally important to communicate to the affected customers and the users the expected impact or like any performance restrictions during the maintenance activities. It's very important, especially in the current moment, because even these critical assets are being remotely accessed on day-to-day basis. So also it is important to ensure that remote access services or the user profiles um, should be active only when they are required. Like again, these access control lists should be updated with least privilege and to be provided only when they are required, especially for the critical assets. So moving on to the scenario of where the critical infrastructure is on cloud, then two aspects would be of primary importance. One is the configuration management, uh, ensuring that the cloud configurations or ensuring that whatever cloud configurations that are in place, they are up to date and also they are secure. And vendor management. So it is equally important to understand with the vendor what are the responsibilities of vendor for security, and if there are any gaps in terms of organization's policy, how to address those gaps. So this kind of continuous engagement or communication is important when your critical assets are on cloud. And enabling multi-factor authentication, uh, especially for the employees who have access to critical infrastructure or critical applications or critical data, is a very important control measure or the recommendation. And the continuous assessment. So to ensure that there is optimal performance is guaranteed, and the capacity and the load balancers and so on of these critical assets or in right place, it's important to continuously assess them. So moving on to the next pillar for securing your organization is how to securely manage network and connectivity security. So what are some basic requirements to ensure that you securely manage your network and connectivity security, or ensure that access controls are up to date and secured. So, and also it is important to make sure that practices like least privilege, um, least privilege are being integrated in these steps. Allow only the authorized devices, not only the authorized users, but also the authorized devices to have access to corporate information, and especially access to the enterprise network. So, of course, configure all these devices especially to force the password entry. So such kind of measures around access control would be of great benefit. Leveraging encryption is also very important, very important and also appropriate, very appropriate for communication. So it is important to establish the trust mechanisms in order to ensure that there is secure transmission and secure receipt, and primarily the secure transmission of the information between the organization's network and the users. Most of the organizations right now might not have a proper BYOD policy in place, but developing business policies which would allow controlled access through the BYOD devices is very critical, and it has to be a top priority for the organizations to come up with this policy. And uh, defense in depth is again very important, because though VPNs are secure, but they are not impenetrable. So it is very important to have layer security, especially when you have mobile workforce or when you have remote workforce. So in addition to implementing these kind of layered security with network filtering mechanisms like using firewalls or IDS and so on, it's also important to test the VPN load capacity, and preparing necessary updates uh, in place whenever expecting that if there is a huge demand on during some time or in next few days and so on. So in terms of dealing with direct traffic, it's important to employ any IP address restrictions to this direct traffic, which has access to the organization's applications and specific systems. So it's important to employ such kind of IP address restrictions as appropriate. So moving on to the next one, which is managing the business resilience. So implementing some break fix or break glass kind of protocols, like emergency access protocols if required. Because we are already working, BCP has become the BAU right now, so we need to be prepared for the other BCP or DR which could potentially come up, and such kind of emergency access protocols should be defined. And in terms of resilience, it's important to continuously update BCP or DR processes and procedures, and also important to ensure and to encourage the use of collaboration tools to increase the productivity. And one important thing and the weak chain would be educating employees about what should be the possible threat actors through social engineering tactics, especially taking advantage of current situation. And the last pillar is the managing endpoints. So the OS images should be deployed with the latest patches, and in case if the antivirus is oversubscribed, immediately update them. And USB access should be either disabled or it should be given only read-only access. And to establish or to enable that users wouldn't download any unauthorized software and so on, it's important to restrict the admin access and the local user creation. Also, to ensure that employees not defer any critical updates, it's important to to deploy the group policy kind of measures. And as I informed earlier, like it's equally important to condition the employees for increased phishing attempts and so on. There are a lot of tools available in the market. So conditioning the employees through simulation would also play an important role for managing or securing the endpoints. So with this, I would like to conclude that strategic leadership and also strategic planning across these 4 pillars, along with good governance, would be of paramount importance in ensuring that business continuity or business as usual is on during these kind of disruptions, and when we rapidly shifted towards this remote working and so on. So thank you all, thank you one and all for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, team.
Hi, Hema. Thank you for that very, I would say, in-depth and very simply explained talk on some of the policies that have to be implemented, especially when you start talking about remote working. We are a little running short of time, so I'll pick just one question from the stage. So Nancy has asked, with coronavirus and more remote work, what are the biggest network security concerns?
Okay. So most of the times organizations are struggling in terms of not having layered security in place. And here I would like to highlight the vulnerable devices. So when most of the devices are connected from their home networks, and sometimes there are attacks that are happening on the VPN network TLS servers, and they are not allowing the organizations to have proper controls in place, especially when the encryption is taking a hit. So also organizations are not going for multi-factor authentication and similar control measures in order to increase the ease of use and to avoid any disruptions that is happening to their business. So allowing some DDoS attacks to happen and so on. So such kind of loopholes should be covered, and also though it is taking some time or ease of access is bit reduced, in these times, giving paramount importance to network security is important.
Okay, thank you for that answer as well, Hema. So I'm sure there are a lot more questions I can see in the comment section. So if you can probably help them out by logging into the comment section. So we have our next speaker lined up. So we have to give him entry into the stage. But Hema, thank you so much. I know this was last minute. You did a really, really amazing presentation. We were very lucky to have you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I think I took some time, but I'll definitely look at the questions.
You're exactly within your time.
Okay.
But just that
I'll
the
try to
question.
see the questions. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hema. Thank you.